program may be pre-recorded. The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush is sponsored by the Word on Wealth Radio Network. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary is a San Diego financial solutions attorney protecting people like you. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future.
Now, you're live.
Oh, and we were talking about preserving your financial future and having a team of experts. Today, Thursday, is the day that we become much smarter than we were just moments ago because we have online with us Anthony Wright. Anthony, how you doing today?
Gary, doing well, my friend. How are you today? Good to hear you again. Good to be back with you.
Oh, it's always good to have you. It always is. It's funny. My secretary came in and Jen, and she came in and she said, she had her phone up and she's like swiping through her phone and she's looking at it. She goes, Gary, why did the market go up so much today? And I said, you're going to have to listen in about an hour and Anthony's going to talk to us about what happened. So I tried to explain to her, because you had told me before, like during the election, the market does weird things right before it. It does it during, it has all these funny responses, but it's like, I just thought, I just need Anthony to kind of translate for us and go, why does the market move around so much with the elections? Why did it go? It was like down yesterday, up the day before. It's back up now. Why is that so affected by the election and what's really going on?
Yeah, it's a great question to ask. And, right here we are in the middle of still counting. And I think we need to give some of these people at these polls mathematical lessons. So we don't have to go weeks to count votes, But what's happening right now is it appears pretty strongly that we're going to at least have a Republican Congress, Republican House, and it's very much up in the air that we may possibly have a Republican Senate. Now, what about that drives the market up? Well, first of all, market is driven on emotion. So if an emotion of fear is present, or if people are feeling uncertain, then the market's going to drop. If people are feeling optimistic, people are feeling excited, then the market's going to rise. You'll see that all throughout the history of the market. The market is driven by emotion. So what's happening right now is there's excitement in the country because the Republicans are going to take back the House. Now, whether they get the Senate or not really don't matter, because once they get the House, they control, and it's going to be gridlock. Now, when you hear the word gridlock, it sounds like a bad thing.
It sounds terrible. Like, oh my gosh, gridlock, nothing can happen.
Exactly. But in the financial world, that's what you want to see. You don't want to see a party that is doing some crazy things just because they have full run of the House, full run of the Senate, the president, the vice president. They're all on board and they're just passing these ludicrous bills, driving up inflation. They tell us 9.5%. The realistic number is probably more like 11.5 to 12. But it's the party that's in control, and they just do the craziest things, and they print money. Well, that makes the stock market go bonkers. That's why for 2 quarters leading up to the election, by definition, we have been in a recession. It's because it's been very fear-driven, and now for the first time in 6 months, you're seeing some optimistic behavior. You're seeing optimism. You're seeing a lot of excitement because now that's going to be shut down. So for the next 2 years, you're not going to see any crazy wild bills passed. You're not going to see any crazy spending because he's not going to be able to get it passed through Congress. Now, hopefully, they end up controlling the Senate as well. But, we're not going to know that till December the 6th. So, but I will tell you something that a lot of people's not watching. The red wave happened in the gubernatorial races. So there's a lot of governors that flipped from Democrat to Republican. And what happens there, what that means there is that's your election results, right? Look who we're waiting on right now. The state of Arizona, the state of Nevada, right? So So waiting around on these states to count. So when you put a new governor in place, that new governor is going to get that state straightened out. Now, I know for me, when I voted here in Tennessee, our governor changed our voting law. I had to show an ID. If I didn't have my driver's license or passport, I didn't get to vote. I was handed a paper ballot. And when I voted on the paper ballot, on my way out, I handed it to the poll worker who entered it into the computer. The computer manually read it, spit it right back out. Poll worker put it in a secure box. Now they have a record of a computer. Now they have a record of where I voted by hand, and they have my voter ID. So it's pretty clear the state of Tennessee is going to have a positive result. And not only that, but look how quick we counted it. We knew the result of our elections that night before we all went to bed. So something's going on in Nevada and Arizona. We gotta talk to these people and give them some math classes.
Yeah. That is so interesting. The whole voting process, I mean, for me, that's just like, that's Americana. And I remember, and by the way, I got to give you some credit here. Anthony, we're talking about the market. And the reason we want to talk about the market and the elections, because all these things have to do with your money. We wouldn't care if the bottom line, if it didn't affect us financially, if it didn't affect our, our health and safety, we wouldn't even think about it. But all this really matters. What matters to Anthony is your retirement and putting your money away, making your investments right. The number is 931 retired. He is excellent to work with. He's a lot of fun to work with. You can see just on this radio show with me, he has his own radio show on XM satellite radio that he does. And tell me the channel on that one.
131 XM channel 131 News Talk.
There we go. So XM 131. And he's now on KCBQ, KPRZ. He knows what he's talking about. 931 retired. All this stuff about elections. I remember back when I was involved at one time in an election, and we were trying to drive, really get a vote out. And we knew, you can go to the polls and you can actually see on the list who has voted and who has not, because there's a voter registry list, and you can literally go and see if certain people have voted or not. I know it's interesting, but it is available at a certain period of time. That's part of this Americana voting thing. You can't see how they voted. You can just see whether they checked the box. And it is possible to actually go and contact people and say, hey, have you voted yet? You need to vote. You could knock doors and send people down to the polls. And the reason I loved that is because there was this energy where everybody had to physically get to the polls. That's just the way it happened. And people would get there, they would punch their little things, it would be scanned. And I love that. Now, when we get all electronic, it's really cool and you think it's faster, but it's made it worse. And the mail-in ballot stuff is, I don't know what's going to happen with that. That is so weird. I mean, I've done an absentee ballot for a very, very long time. Sometimes I have my absentee ballot and I turn it in at the polls, but yeah, the election, it makes such a big difference. That's why we're talking about it today. Anthony's number is 931 retired, 931 retired. So Anthony, as far as, I want to talk about, the bear market that we are in, the recession that we're in, the inflation that we're seeing, and what are your thoughts about that? Are we thinking bullish even though we're in a bear market? What's going on with that? And that's what I'd like to talk about. If you guys want to call and talk to Anthony directly, you can call him right now with us on the show. That's 888-344-1170, 888-344-1170. Coming up, we're going to talk to Anthony about bullish trends in a bearish market. He's going to give us the good news on, what you can do, what are defensive purchases, what are defensive stocks. Those things always fascinate me. I like to talk about them each and every time that we're on with Anthony, because he knows so much about that kind of stuff. You're listening to The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush and Anthony Wright. Anthony's number is 931 retired, and we'll be back in a moment.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. We're here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST.
You're saving and investing for the future, and that's good. Have you ever stopped to think, where does my money actually go? This is Faith-Based Investing with Anthony Wright.
Most Christian families don't understand this one thing. The money that you're saving for retirement helps fund the abortion industry as well as other liberal anti-family causes. It's the sad, dirty little secret of American investing world. And here's the good news, though. You probably also didn't know that just a few minutes of your time, and we'll screen and clean your investments for you. There's no cost, no obligation. Learn the truth about your own investment mix. Then the choice is yours. Remember, the word says when God's money is in the hands of the righteous, the people rejoice. Well, we also are fiduciary investment advisor representatives. That means that our firm makes a pledge to always act in your best interest. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com. Download a free copy of my book, Faith-Based Investing, or call me at 931-RETIRED. And please don't forget, listen to Faith-Based Investing this weekend right here on Family Talk.
Gary, our listeners are asking about trust disputes and whether or not they'll actually get the inheritance they're expecting.
I think that's a scary thing for most people because they feel like, if I ask my successor trustee, hey, where's my inheritance? You kind of feel like, oh my gosh, I'm being like rude or whatever, inconsiderate. But I'm telling you, if time goes on, if it's been like 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, that's too long to have heard nothing. You're supposed to hear fairly soon, like within a couple of months after someone's passed, you should be hearing from that successor trustee. And if you're not, I think there's an issue we need to address. So it's not like we're going to go screaming in there, filing lawsuits. We kind of use gentle nudges like, hey, do you know what you're doing? Successor trustee, we kind of want to help you do your job, and we help beneficiaries kind of get things straightened out.
Call or click to request your free initial consultation. gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, gqlaw.com.
Here in San Diego County, many
Tell a friend about this broadcast outreach, The Word on Wealth, with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST, gqlaw.com.
You're live.
Anthony Wright is the awesome financial advisor that you need to know. His number is 931-RETIRED, and we have him right here on this show. Call us 888-344-1170, 888-344-1170. Ask Anthony your question about the market. He knows everything. You can't stump him. 888-344-1170. Anthony, tell us about the bear. Are we in a bear market? Are we in a bull market? Are we doing bullish trends? What does that mean to us as those of us that have money sitting in a retirement account, and you go, oh, it's going up. Oh, it's going down. What's going on?
You don't know from one day to the next what's going to happen, right? It's going up, it's going down. It's kind of a roller coaster. But if you go by true definition of recession, the definition of a recession is 2 consecutive downward quarters. Well, that's where we're at. So by true definition, we're in a recession. However, I would tell you, due to the election results and due to where we're at right now, I think you're going to see the positive up gain. I think you're going to see a shift to a bull market instead of this bear market. I think you're going to see some momentum, and I think you're going to see that we now begin to go north, and we start getting back some of the gains that we're in. So if you're in the market right now, stay put, go ahead and ride it back up. I think the surf wave is getting ready to go back up. Now, if you're out of the market, I would tell you that it's probably a really good time to get some good buys and get some good deals. But you mentioned it before we went to break, and that is defensive stocks. And so right now we're putting a lot of our clients and a lot of their portfolios in defensive stocks. And defensive stocks is just simply stocks that defend against a bad economy. They do good in a bad economy. They do good in a good economy. People listening today may say, well, how in the world is that possible? Well, you think about grocery chains, right? People are going to go buy groceries. It doesn't matter if the economy's good or if the economy's bad. They're going to have to eat. It doesn't matter if, even during the COVID, a couple of years ago, people were still going and buying groceries. They were still having to get their food, their coffee. So there's things that you can do even back in 1929 in the Great Depression days. What was doing good back then? Hair care products, food products. So things that happen in a good economy, they go up. If things happen and it goes to a bad economy, they're still okay because they're going to pay a dividend and they're going to do fine even in a tough economy because they're things that people cannot live without. We have to have toiletries, right? We have to have, our paper towels, and there's just certain things that we have to carry on and with everyday life, regardless of what the economy does.
Mm-hmm. So do you then balance the portfolio based on because the economy's tough, and so you move I guess because we talk about, a lot of times traditionally it's like, well, stocks and bonds, they move opposite. So are you 80% equity, 20%, bond, how does that move back and forth? Are you it sounds like what you're doing, and you've explained this before, is that you may have a lot of stuff in equities, but even in your equities portfolio, you're moving things around because if we need to go to defensive stocks, then we're moving into defensive stocks. So it's not like your stock portfolio just sits there. You're going to move it around so that it's based on our risk tolerance, our age, based on our property and how much we need. You're going to be getting it into the defensive stocks as necessary. And then when we don't need them anymore, you move it from defensive stocks to other things that are growing. Is that right?
That is correct. And that is because we are not a buy and hold firm. Mm-hmm. So 96% of people in our country are accustomed to the buy and hold strategy, because that's pretty much what most of the general investment advisors do, are very buy and hold. They're just a very passive. Well, my firm is an aggressive firm. So we're going to make money when the market goes down, just like we're going to make money when the market goes up. There's no reason to just sit around and piddle your thumbs when the market's going down. Let's go ahead and make some money. Mm-hmm. So, let's make money if the market drops, but let's make money if the market goes up. So that's what we try to do as an investment advisor firm that is an aggressive firm. We're going to move you as times change, as things change, as elections change, as the country changes. We're going to change with it, and we try our very best to stay ahead of it, and that way our clients are happy if the market's up, and they're happy if the market's down. So, I can't sit here and say we do it 100% of the time correct, because nobody does, but a big percentage of the time we get it right. Right before the recession happened, we actually went in our client account and we sold some covered call positions, and that generated income for the client. We turned around and took that income and we bought puts. Now, for those that are listening that don't understand puts, that means that we placed a bet on those accounts that the market was going to tank. And guess what happened? It tanked. So we guessed right. So because of that, now we have people that's actually making money because we placed puts on their accounts. You're not going to get that in a buy and hold firm. They're just going to buy and they're going to hold. Now, usually when that happens, that means cheaper brokerage fees, because a lot of times people will call and say, well, what's your fee compared to what I'm paying right now? Well, we're going to be competitive, number one, because the SEC makes us be competitive. So nobody in the industry is going to be obsessive, or else the SEC would fine them and make us make adjustments. So we're going to all be competitive. But if I'm a couple of ticks above somebody else, it's because I work harder. It's kind of like the analogy, you get what you pay for, right? If you pay a cheap price, you're going to get a cheap merchandise. But if you pay a little more expensive price, you're going to get an expensive product. Gary, I'm sure you do a great job with your clients and your trust, but you're not necessarily going to be the less expensive attorney out there, because why would you be? I mean, who wants a discounted attorney? I mean, if I'm going to pay you for a trust, I want the best, right?
Right. You want it right. Yeah. You don't want to have to come to me later and say, could you please fix this trust that I just got and it's kind of a mess, because that's what happens a lot. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's kind of like doing it yourself. Do it yourself trust, do it yourself investments. You end up having to go to somebody to fix it. You might as well just get it right the first time. Might as well get it right.
That's right.
Hey, one of the things that I am the most thrilled about in talking to you, and I have talked to other financial advisors that really have differing opinions on things that, as everybody can imagine, there's a lot of people out there telling us what to do with our money, is the stop losses, the machine build-in loss protections that you have. I'm always thrilled by hearing that my stuff is protected, and that if I have calculated in, if a certain stock or something's going to start taking a dive, I mean, the market, gosh dang, and it depends on where you were. Sometimes people took losses this year of, 20, 30, 34%. But if they were with you, even if they weren't moving things around at all, they would have had losses that would have stopped. They would have been limited. And I love that feature of what you're doing, especially with a firm that's moving and taking care of, trying to get the deals and doing so much hard work that you're doing. Talk to us a little bit about the stop loss, the effect of that, and why we should look forward to that. Get Anthony's number is 931 retired. That is the only number you need to know. If you've inherited money, you want to know what to do with it. You're trying to figure out your required distributions, if any, how much you're supposed to take out this year. 931 retired. Get your money with Anthony. Let him and his team manage it so that you can make money in an up or down market. Now's the time. If you're in cash right now, call Anthony. 931 retired. Get back in the market. Get stop losses on it. And Anthony, talk to us about the stop losses.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things that makes us different than a lot of other investment advisors. Now, we're not the only one out there that does that, but it's just hard to find because 95% of them are going to want to do the buy and hold because they already have their answer programmed when you call them. Well, my account's down $50,000. And I know what they're going to say. Well, it's just the market. Just write it out. See, they already got their answer programmed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what we do is to protect our clients, we do something called a stop loss, and we do a trailing stop loss, which means it trails your portfolio and it trails your gains. So to give you an example of the way that would work is, let's say that we're running a 10% trailing stop loss on a portfolio. Well, maybe over the past year, that portfolio has grown, let's say 20% or 25%.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then all of a sudden we enter a 6-month recession, and 6 months later, maybe the entire market has dropped. I think it dropped over the past 6 months about 30%, 32%, something like that. Well, first of all, you as our client would have had that 25, 30% gain. That 10% trailing stop loss would have went with you. So the moment you had a 30% gain, that locks in your
2 minutes
stop loss. And now if you come down 10%, you're moved over into cash. Boom, automatically. We've already got that programmed into the algorithm. We've already got that programmed into your account. So the computer would trigger that immediately. So now you started out with a 30% gain, but the market come down 10%. Well, you got triggered out. Now you're happy because you've still got a 20% gain sitting in your account. So you have this 20% gain, and then the market goes ahead and drops 30 some odd percent. So it's a beautiful thing. And it's something that I really don't understand why a lot more investment advisors don't do it, other than the fact that it just requires work and it requires you to do something. And, it just seems like in the country today that we live in, unfortunately, it just doesn't seem like
1 minute
work anymore. It seems like they just want everything kind of given to them. And that's just not the way I was raised. That's not the way I was brought up. So I was raised, country farm boy. We work, we eat what we kill, so to speak. So we work for our client and we protect them with those stop losses.
Anthony, beautiful explanation of the stop losses, the trailing stop losses. I mean, that really helped me understand a lot better how that works. And I'm into insurance. I'm into protections. I'm into, trusts and wills and looking for things to go wrong and the way to correct that. And I love the way you're describing it, the way you work for clients, the way you really put in the effort in the game, because that's really makes all the difference. You take the more difficult path, it makes all the difference. This is Anthony Wright, my friends. This is Anthony Wright, 931 retired, 931 retired. Get on the phone to Anthony. His website is BibleSafeInvesting.com. Remember, 931 retired. Call Anthony. Talk about your investments. Get back in the market. Get those stop losses in place. You're listening to The Word on Wealth. Thanks, Anthony.
Is Anthony on another segment? I can't tell.
No.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com. You're not alone. Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST. Or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's GQlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
You're live.
Welcome to The Word on Wealth. friends. I'm so happy to have you listening to the show today, being a part of it. We just had Anthony Wright. That's my an hour weekly session with Anthony talking about the market and the stocks and bonds and how that all works. And I, you know, as you know, or as you can tell, Anthony really knows this stuff. When you, any question I ask him, he will answer it. None of that was scripted. I'm sure you can tell that as well. It's simply questions that I have that have been brought up to me or by my clients, or questions that I just have about my own stuff that I've got going on, my own understanding of the market. And I just really appreciate that he is willing to teach. That's why he has his own radio show on XM radio. That's the Sirius XM radio number 131. So channel 131, you can listen to him on the weekends. Anthony just really knows this stuff, and he cares about you. He cares about your money. He cares about, working hard. And I think the big difference between Anthony and other advisors is the amount of work that he will put in. And he and his team work very, very hard to make sure that your portfolio is protected. And they've got some things that are programmed into algorithms and machine language that makes it so that when you set up an account, you know how much your risk is. And, what's the maximum risk you can take? What's the maximum risk you're willing to be at? In, my own investments, it is frustrating sometimes when I'm asking for financial advice and the advisor says, yeah, the market's still down, we should leave you in cash. And then 6 months later, it's, yeah, the market is still down, we should leave you in cash. And then it's now been a year, about 10 months. Yeah, the market's still down, it's starting to come back up, we should leave you in cash. Well, that particular account's down 30%. So to get back up, the market's got to go up 60 to get back to zero. So unfortunately, I didn't have that money with Anthony, and I was just letting it sit. And I thought that was a good idea, and it was not. So now with Anthony, my recommendation to you is call him, 931 retired. Don't mess with it on your own. Don't be a DIY investor. Why would you want to go through that? I mean, maybe that's your baby. Maybe you understand markets and ups and downs. You like to study it, but it's one of those things where if you do it, you got to do it every single day to watch the markets, to watch your portfolio. Why not pay somebody to do it? That'd be the smart thing for me. Call Anthony, 931 retired. Other things to do to prepare for the inevitable, and the inevitable obviously is passing away. When we were talking with Anthony, the inevitable is the market's going to move. It's going to move up or down, and there are ways to be prepared for it both ways. With estate planning, to be prepared is to be prepared for when the time comes that you pass away. Is it unlikely? No, it's 100% going to happen. Is it untimely? I think most people's deaths are untimely. Is it sooner than you want it to be? I say most people probably so. But we need to be prepared. The thing that happens if you do not have an estate plan, if you don't have a will or a trust and the things that you need to get your plan in order, is the chaos that remains. When I talk about that, I'm not making it up. Early in my career, I talked a lot about wills and trusts, and they were a good idea and that you should do them. And I understood the concepts and the principles, and I understood the whys and the hows and all that, but I didn't have the actual tangible experience that I do now, where I can honestly and truly say that I have actually seen hundreds of times in my career the difference, the fantastic difference between having a trust properly prepared and not having anything at all. And most of the time, that's the difference. Nothing or a trust. It's not that your trust is garbage. The trust might be, it might be that it could be better. It could be improved or amended. Maybe it does what you want it to. Maybe it doesn't. My job is to make sure that it does. But a trust is better than nothing. Okay. Even a trust that's not super well drafted is better than nothing most of the time. When you start to get into complexities, or you've got blended families, if you have a family where husband and wife have different children, They're not all common children between the two. Those are complicated estate plans, and they need to be considered as a complicated or a complex estate plan. That's not a normal situation. It's a normal situation. Okay. I know we're in 2022. It happens to the majority of people. The divorce rate in San Diego is almost 70% in California, almost 70%. That means of married people, 70% of you will not be married to the same person. So that's a big thing with estate planning. What I like to do is talk about all different scenarios. That's just my job. I'm going to be the one that says, well, what if the wife dies first? What if the husband dies first? What if the wife remarries or just have somebody move in? What if the husband dies and remarries or just has somebody move in? Those are different scenarios. And once you've passed away, if there's money that you're trying to protect going to your own children that are not common children with your husband, they're not your husband's children, they're yours. That's a big difference, because if you die relatively close together in time, then joint estate plans in a blended family, they work okay, right? The longer the longer span of time between the first person dying in a blended family and the second person dying in a blended family, the longer that span of time is, the more disastrous that estate becomes, because time changes things. Time changes emotions. It changes loyalties. It changes all kinds of things. It changes whether you're, feeling like you're being treated properly. So with a blended family, you need to definitely consider having two trusts. Maybe husband and wife would each have their own separate property trust, depending on what their property consists of. If they don't have any separate property, they just have joint property, that's okay too. But then consider doing a trust that splits at the first death, that turns into two, so that each of you can have your own separate trust with one of you dead. Okay. Those are things that need to be considered. If you have a regular trust and you're in a blended family, let's talk about the implications of that. Now, if you both die together and you're old, no problem at all. But if you are not old and you don't die together, problems come up. In fact, those are the things to discuss. And what I love to do is reviewing your trust, is telling you, here's what will happen. Here's the possibility. Here are your options. Do you want to make changes or not? And a lot of people just say, no, I'm good with the way it's set up. I'm good that everything goes to my wife. And if she remarries and wants to give it all away to her husband and his children, I'm fine with that. Okay, that's fine. Is it going to be the same for wife, where wife says, that's okay. When I die, it's okay that my husband remarries and he can give all of his money to his new wife or her children. That's okay. I don't mind. Is that going to happen? Probably not likely. But if you don't have a plan that addresses that, that's what you're allowing to have happen. You need to be careful. You need to think about this. I'm not saying, you are going to, you say I do and you're automatically going to be divorced. I mean, we know at death, it's still death do you part. So that's when things go haywire and kind of split up. So make sure you have a trust that's drafted and you understand what it does. If you have a blended family, I'm happy to help with all this, by the way. 855-500-TRUST is my number. 855-500-TRUST. I've been doing this for 34 years. Let me help you figure out your estate plan and what it should be. If you don't want to get it too complicated and you have nothing, then take the first step. Get something. Get an estate plan. The way we like to do it is within 2 weeks. You come in, we talk about your estate plan, your options, your beneficiaries, how are things going to go. And most cases, we can get started right away. And within 2 weeks, you're back in my office, reviewing all your documentation and signing it before our notary. A 2-week turnaround is what we're looking at. So if you're planning on traveling for Thanksgiving, we're going to have to do it faster than that. So if you came in if you came in the beginning of next week, we could probably get it done before Thanksgiving. That'd be a 1-week turnaround. That'd be super fast. But we could do it. So if you don't have any estate plan and you're going to do Thanksgiving travel, you need to call right now, 855-500-TRUST, and get it done. If you have minor children, anybody under the age of 18, you have to have a guardian designation, because if not, the state of California, if both parents die, The kids go to the Polinsky Children's Center. They're in the foster care system until somebody can petition the court to become their guardian. Don't let that happen. And you don't need to let that happen. If you're going on a trip in Thanksgiving, just get it taken care of, really. And if you're going to trip at Christmas, we still have time. We're at the end of the year, but get these things done. It's like, this is on your checklist. Let's just do it. 855-500-TRUST. Get your will, your trust, power of attorneys, healthcare, all that stuff. We can get it done. So you're going to feel good about it. You're going to feel more comfortable, more relaxed. It's like having an insurance policy. If you're uninsured, it's always like really tricky. Like, ugh, better not get into an accident or have a health problem. Same with, same with having your trust in your estate plan. It really feels good. It feels super good. So give us a call, 855-500-TRUST, and we can help you out. I want to talk about a healthcare power of attorney coming up next here on The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. We're here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST.
We've talked a long time about estate administration. So what is that? And why is it important?
Estate administration is the distribution part of estate planning. So when someone passes away and they leave money to beneficiaries, the property has to be administered. So it's like taking it from the decedent to the survivor. That's called the estate administration process. So usually you're going to have a successor trustee that's named in the trust. They'll have no idea what they're doing because they've never done it before. So then they call on GQ Law and we walk them step by step on how to be a successful and good successor trustee. We also do the required notifications. We notify the Department of Health Services and all the legal requirements so that they can have the estate administration done properly. We help successor trustees be successful.
Call or click to request your free consultation. gqlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST. gqlaw.com.
It's
Tell a friend about this broadcast outreach, The Word on Wealth, with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. gqlaw.com.
You're live.
Oh, there we go. Got to click all the buttons. This is Gary Quackenbush on The Word on Wealth. We're happy to have you here. Happy Thursday, everybody. Remember to call Anthony Wright with your financial stuff. I told you that. 931-RETIRED. Second number you need to know is me. Get your financial estate plan in order. 855-500-TRUST. 855-500-TRUST. And we can help you out with that. It's holiday time. You know, one of the things that was, I thought, a really good idea, and we've done this in the past and it's been super cool, is if you have, like, let's say you have your own estate plan put together and you know that you really would like your kid to do one, maybe it's your daughter and she's married and they're still kind of trying to figure out, well, should we do an estate plan? Should we do a trust or will or guardian? And you know that they need to have a trust and they should have a will and they should have the guardian designation in case something happens to the parents where the kids are left with sans parente or whatever that is, without parents. And you know that should happen. what you can do is you can hire GQ Law to prepare an estate plan. And we do a bare estate plan. We actually have a coupon that says, Merry Christmas. Here's your, here's your organizer. Here's what your estate plan binder is going to look like. And you can pay for it, or you can pay the half up front, the balance when they sign it or whatever. But you've basically given them the opportunity to have an estate plan. They don't have to think about the financial commitment now, but they just need to kind of move forward and get the worksheets, and we can work with you on that. So if you want to do it for your kids, get an estate plan put together, call us up, 855-500-TRUST. We'll figure out how to do that and get a nice, either the notebook itself or a coupon that says that they get their estate plan that has been paid for by mom and dad. Happy day. And we can get it done. So that way your little grandkids, if the kids pass away, you've got the grandkids can be set up to the board. They have a guardian, probably not you. It could be, but at least somebody that's designated to take care of the kids. Of the stories that I tell in my career, the most dramatic and the ones with the worst result, like the kind of, if I want to tell like crazy stories or bad stories, it's about guardianship. We had a situation years ago that was kind of my saddest example, where it was the couple, there's a mom and dad, and they had their two small children. The kids were little, I think like 4 and 6, and they were going to visit his dad for a funeral, and they had to drive. Well, they were with a couple of friends and said, would you take care? We got to do a quick run out to, I can't remember what it was, Montana, to my dad's funeral. And can we leave the kids with you? And if anything happens to us, will you take care of our kids? And they said, of course I will. You're my friend. We love and care about you. We love and care about your kids. We'll be happy to take care of your kids. And don't even say that, man. You're going to be back. We'll see you when you get back. Died in a car crash on the way to dad's funeral. Now, once the friends at home with the girls, with the children, once they discovered that their friend was not coming back, they now were trying to then take up the charge of being the guardians. Well, to do that, you have to petition the probate court for a guardianship. There was nothing in writing. All they had was this oral declaration that they were to be the guardians. So they went into the petition, and when you petition to be a guardian, if you don't have the will that says guardian designation and your name there, or there's no nomination of guardian form or anything like that, where there's been some designation that you're the guardian, never been done in writing, you don't have any priority other than you're the first one to petition. So we sent out notifications to all the grandparents, and there were bunches because there were some remarriages. So all the grandparents and the aunts and uncles, they all get the notification of this guardian petition. And that's when what broke loose, because there were some grandparents, one grandparent that was very aggressive because she wanted to be the guardian. So she was competing with that. And the settlement, the resolution was that the couple that I was representing got to be the guardians. And one of these grandparents that were fighting about it, they ended up getting visits. Well, as soon as that petition went out that they should get visits, all the other grandparents said, hey, what about our visits? There were 8 grandparents total. And they said, well, what about our visits? If this grandma gets a visit once a month, what about our visits? Well, where do you fit in the other 8 grandparents? It was 4 sets. So you have 5 sets of grandparents. And what are they going to do? Each one's going to go, if you gave one a monthly visit, you're going to have to give all 5 monthly visits, to be fair. And 5 monthly visits means more than once a week, there's a grandparent taking the kids away or visiting the kids. That's complete insanity. Well, that's the way this thing went. It was crazy. And all of it was because there was no designation of guardian. Had there been a designation of guardian, the judge would have looked at it, and the judge would have determined that we know what their desire was. In fact, because it's written and it's legally enforceable, the family would have seen That's why these friends petitioned. But all they had was, hey, Johnny told us to take care of his kids and that we, should take care of them. That's what we're doing. So that's what they were going on. It wasn't like they had this signed declaration that was witnessed, knowing that's what happened. So there's always this doubt and fear and whatever, but it was awful. And then dealing with the money for the children was even worse because the parents didn't have it set up. So there was a trust to manage the money. So that became a big financial disaster. I'm telling you this story because I want that to not happen to your children and your family. If you are prepared and you have your life insurance, you have a trust set up, your minor children are benefited by you guys having life insurance that pays into the trust. And now that money's available to be paid out to your children through the successor trustee of that trust. You can have an estate. A lot of people say, well, Gary, I don't have an estate to plan. I don't have a house. I have a car. I have some money in retirement, but that's all I've got. And then my next question is, well, do you have life insurance? Oh yeah, I've got $500,000 of life insurance with my company and I've got $350,000 private pay. That's $850,000. I thought you said you didn't have an estate. Well, I said, that's your estate. Make it so the beneficiary designation says, when I die, put this in my trust. And you can do that. So then husband dies, there's $850,000 in a trust. If wife dies too, well, there's $850,000 plus her insurance. So now we're $1.5 million of insurance that didn't exist until death, but that estate was created instantly upon death. And that money went into the trust. And now that trust controls the money to the younger children. The successor trustee has instructions to pay the kids for their health and their education and maintaining their life and taking care of them and, buying them what they need. That's all written in the trust. Absent a trust, if mom and dad both died, the life insurance goes to the kids and they're under 18. Check this out. That life insurance goes into a blocked account, court blocked account, and it can't be used except for somebody going in and petitioning the court that they need money. And who's going to have to do that? That's going to be the guardian. Well, if there's no estate plan, there's no guardian established. So the guardian's going to have to go in and petition. If there's money and the guardian petitions, now it looks like the guardian is going after the money control because they'll get the money control to take care of the kids. So it's all these like things that come up that you don't think about. Like, really, Gary, if I set up a will and a trust and my will says that my sister-in-law and brother-in-law are to take care of my minor children and that my brother is going to be my trustee handling the money, that's going to resolve all the issues. And I'd say it resolves most of them because you have declared what you want to have happen and who you want to have in charge. It is that essential, you guys. It's not just a matter of I'm dead and I want money to go to my children. It's not that. Okay. The state of California does that. They do it with probate and they give it to them when they're 18. Disaster. What you're trying to do is organize if you became incapacitated, if only one of you died, if one of you died and the other is incapacitated, if you're both incapacitated, if neither of you are incapacitated, if one of your kids has special needs, if something happens to one of your kids, if there's life insurance that pays in, those things are all addressed in a good estate plan. So let's talk about it. 855-500-TRUST. If you're my listener, just call up and say, hey, I'm one of Gary's friends. I hear him on the radio. And I want a consultation. I want to talk about estate planning. And let's talk about what's available to you. I'd love to have the couple to come in and visit with me. That's the best way to do it. We can talk about what you have, your life insurance, your money and all that. We figure out exactly what would work for you and the cost and the time commitment. And my clients are happy. They just are. We don't charge that much money. We're not outrageous. Like some attorneys are just like crazy, crazy expensive. We don't need to be. We're not a discount firm. We don't do it for free, but we do a really good job. And the material you get is stuff that is battle hardened. It's proven in battle because I've been doing administration of my own trusts for, like I said, I've been doing this for a very long time. So as an attorney, I've tested my stuff because I've had to take it through litigation. I've had it settle hundreds of cases. It's good stuff. And we can get it done in a couple of weeks. Call us at 855-500-TRUST tomorrow. Feel Good Friday. We're going to be talking about gratefulness, getting through hard times. What does it take to get through? And what are some good examples for us? We'll be talking about that here on the Word on Wealth tomorrow. We'll give you the opportunity to call in. So Friday's show, the very special show. Listen up, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow on the Word on Wealth. Every day during the week, we are here Monday through Friday. Same time, same station that you're listening on KCBQ and KPRZ. We've also got it on our podcast, Google platform, iTunes, Spotify, all the platforms for podcasts, gqlaw.com, the Word on Wealth. Talk to you tomorrow, everybody. Bye-bye.
Tell a friend about the Word on Wealth, featured since 1995, with financial solutions attorney Gary Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help you preserve your family's financial future. The information you hear on the Word on Wealth is for...
Do you have somebody for tomorrow?